taking a chance from the gate.
Oh yeah.
It starts at school.
Oh, I have a whole story.
It starts at school, especially if you have your son going to schools in the suburbs with the white folks. Welcome back to our channel, Real Beauty and Pain. I'm Jay.
I'm Shell.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
Follow us on IG, real_beauty and pain.
Today's topic is raising black sons in America. And this topic was inspired by what has recently been going on in America. Our sympathy and condolences go out to the family of George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery. And that inspired today's topic of how hard it is raising a young black son in America. We both have sons that we are raising. So
we're a little like different than our usual because this is very serious and we're
a little uncomfortable.
Yeah, because it's going to get really deep. So forgive us if we're kind of, we're very nervous to talk about this because, it's all fun and games when we're talking about our love life or whatever else. Those are small potatoes to what we're talking about today. I'm raising two black sons. I have an older one who is now an adult. He's 18. And raising him, we raised each other, basically. But it's been hard because, for one, he was not raised in the hood. I took him out of the hood. But he felt like he knew the hood because of who his family is and whatever.
I'm gonna at the end of DNA.
Yeah. So I feel like he didn't know the rules. Like, you don't run from the police. You don't you don't tell on yourself. You don't talk to the police. Even though I've told him these things, don't run from the police. Don't you tell them to call your mama. Don't say nothing. Don't even tell them your name. You tell them to call your mama. I don't feel like he got it because he wasn't raised in the hood. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like I knew, it seemed like from birth, the rules, the street rules. So anyways,
so do you feel that when you took him out and put him in a different environment, do you feel like he almost felt like he didn't fit in the new environment? Like he didn't fit in?
I think that because who his father and brothers and family is he felt like he was from the hood, even though he wasn't raised in the hood.
You know what? That is so funny you say that because I'm dealing with the same thing with my son. Because of who his father is, he feels he's automatically hood. But I'm not even raising you in the hood. You've been kind of privileged. You've been growing up in this nice, big, beautiful home. You don't even go to the schools in the hood. He goes to school in the suburbs. The majority of the kids at his school are white. And you know what? It starts really young that you start seeing the difference in how your kid is being treated. And I say that because for my son, going to those type of schools in the suburbs, when he gets in trouble, the discipline is different versus how they discipline the white kids. So at a very young age, they start noticing that they're being treated different. And that in itself starts creating behavior problems because my son at a young age start noticing that he's being treated differently. And I don't know if your son have experienced that, because have he been to both types of schools?
So, yeah, but see, the thing is, this is the thing with my son. He is a good kid. Mm-hmm. He just was fascinated by the hood life, and I think that's because I took him out of the hood. And he knew what the hood was because he would go for the summers or whatever, and and you know, his brothers. And it was different for me because when I moved from California to Nevada, that became his hood. Does that make sense? Like, I didn't realize just because I was taking him out of my hood,
that he was going to find
that he was going to find a whole nother hood.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And so I feel like for me as a mother, because my son didn't have his father around, it doesn't matter if you take your kids, your sons, out of a certain environment, if they're not taught and that because you're black, you're going to be treated like this. So if you act like how they think we all act, you're going to be treated unfairly. If you give them what they want and being ignorant, gang banging, hustling, doing all these things, if you give them what they want, that gives them an excuse to treat you as such, even though your home life wasn't that. And we can, you know, it's unfortunate that, you know, my son didn't have his father around to the capacity where he needed him. And then it was also unfortunate that my son in particular, his father was targeted by the police. So when he started to get into trouble in Nevada, he had to go to California and be with his father and his family. Well, lo and behold, the police got a hold to him, and because of who he running his mouth, my dad is such and such from somewhere, and this, that, and the police obviously, you know who he is. They automatically put a target on my son's back. And I'm not saying my son is an angel. He's not an angel. But to the capacity that the police made it seem, because of who his father was unfair and unfortunate. Because what happened was, instead of the courts and the police and everybody saying, dang, his father is such and such, let's put him in a program, let's get him away from that. Let's try to help this young man because of who his father is, and his father has this target on his back by the police. They didn't do that.
And not only that, your son was doing really good.
He was doing very well.
He was being filmed. He was a star football player. He was on the right track.
But none of that mattered.
None of it mattered.
Because of who his father was.
Mm-hmm.
A black man who made lots of mistakes, but, you know, loved his children. And I'm not making excuses for him. But see how the system is set up is to keep us down, especially black men down.
Absolutely.
So yeah, none of that mattered. None of it didn't matter that my son was on the news every week. It didn't matter that D1 colleges were coming to watch him. None of that mattered. It only mattered that he had one foot in the right direction and the other foot in the bad direction. You know, he was a product of his environment, of his family, of his DNA. He didn't ask to be born to me and his father. You know, and his two other brothers, unfortunately, are in prison because you know what I mean. And when we were in court and my son went to jail, the judge even repeated, oh, because of who his father is, oh, his older brothers are in prison. Okay, well, you see the cycle, sir. Let's do something different. Because again, the system is made to hold us down, to make it harder for us. You know what I mean? And I begged and I pleaded and I had to like get up out the court. And Michael had teachers in court to talk for him, people from church. I mean, one of his teachers broke down in the courtroom crying. Teachers wrote letters for him saying that the class wouldn't get right until Michael said so. And Michael would be like, dang, I didn't want to say anything, but whatever.
He has a lot of leadership qualities.
Yes. And for the amount of support that he had, and it's not, he didn't kill nobody, nobody was harmed, you know, the system is meant to break our young black men. So we have to do better. And it's unfortunate that even situations like with George Floyd, you know, the first thing I did was, you know, tell my son, like, did you see that? Like, look how they do us. Stop giving them reasons. You know what I mean? He's ran from the police several times. So when my phone rings, my heart drops, especially when it's a number that I don't know, because I think it's gonna be somebody saying that my son's been shot and murdered by the police. So, you know, it breaks my heart that for whatever reason, the system doesn't want to help our young black men. Like, it's like, why not? But we don't do no better. We as a people, we not doing no better. Because we hating on each other, talking about each other, you know what I mean, jealous of each other.
But you know what, I'm gonna say this. When you're raising a young black son, you have to make sure that you're advocating for your son. It starts at school. You know, you have to know, you as a parent, you have to educate yourself. Especially if the dad is not in the home helping you raise that young black son. You know, I know it's been really hard for my son because based on his behavior, he was labeled at school. And we had one incident, and to this day, that bothers my son. He got suspended, and while he was out on suspension due to and let me say this, my son is an honor roll student. He gets all A's and B's, highly intelligent, very smart, but none of that matters. He even on the state exams, he scores above the district. But none of that matters because he doesn't fit the stereotype that they want him to fit. They want him to be smart and act nerdy. No, my son is smart and acts hood. You know?
He has all the swag.
So none of that smartness, and I tell my son, you know what? You know how many black men are in prison that are smart? You know how many black men get killed every day and they're smart? It takes more than being smart. You know, at a young age, my son started getting suspended a lot due to his behavior. And I'm like telling the school, like, you guys are not just going to keep suspending him, you know? And like I said, going back to the story, when he got suspended and he was at home, the teacher told the class one day, I guess the kids were being noisy, and he told the kids, do you guys want to end up like, no, I don't want to use names, but do you guys want to end up like Esco? And they was like Esco? What you mean? And the teacher said, do you know where Esco is heading in life? And he told the class, to prison.
I would have sued them motherfuckers.
So, but this is what he said, and of course he tried to say he didn't say that. You know, I went up there, you know, I advocate big time for my kids. I went up there, they talked to the kids said that he said it, the teacher said he didn't say it, so it was a whole big old thing. But I had them remove my son from his class.
But then how do you, like...
The kids came back and told my son.
What the teacher said?
Yeah, and my son said, you know what, Mom? When I make it and I'm rich and I'm on TV, I'm going to give a shout out to that teacher and let him know, look, I made it.
Right. But how do you, like, I feel like for me, once, and I know your son hasn't completely, you know, had to deal with the law to the extent my son has. So once then people, you know, the law, I'm gonna say the law, I'm gonna be politically correct, but you know what I want to say. Once the folks get a hold to your child legally, they make it so hard for you as a parent. It's like you lose all your rights, because as juveniles, you know, they don't get bail. It's none of that. It's your kid is arrested, and basically we're going to hold them until we see fit. And that's how juvenile court system works. You as a parent have no rights, and it's not fair, because as an adult, you know, you can get bailed out. You can you're what is it called? You're innocent until proven guilty.
Right.
In juvenile, it just seems like you're guilty until proven innocent.
And it goes back to this, what I was getting ready to say. If you have a son and he's having a lot of behavior problems at school, and he's always getting suspended, and he's always getting in trouble, you better start getting him the resources. It's important because it makes a difference if he gets out there and get in trouble with the law. It's the reason why I advocated so hard for my son, and I made sure they gave him an IEP. See, most people think an IEP is just for kids that are disabled. No. A lot of kids suffer from different things. Emotional behavior, behavior disorders, things like that. If you get an IEP for your son, and they'll give you a hard time. You know, one thing, and I hate having to split it like this, but one thing white people do is they get the resources for their kid. Absolutely. When that law comes for them, they'll hit them with, oh, my son has a disability, he has an IEP, he has this, and all that makes a difference to the law on how they're going to handle your child. So when they start suspending my son all the time, I fought for an IEP.
But unfortunately, even with that, they're gonna, you know how they are, all black, all, you know, they use that as an excuse. Because my son didn't get an IEP until he was already a senior in high school.
Right.
And that's, nobody ever said to me, maybe your son needs to be tested for this, that, and the third. Like, and I feel like as an educator, as a teacher, as a counselor, as a principal, whatever you are, you're trained to see these things in kids. So why did it take for my son to get in so much trouble for finally one teacher said, we need to test him?
Because they don't, let me tell you something, they don't want to come up off the services. And they don't want to be held liable. When your son has an IEP or your child has an IEP, there's a different way they have to handle that child. The liability becomes different, you know? So that's why they're not just out telling everybody, oh, I think your child needs to be tested. And they don't want to do that, especially if they know your child is smart. You know, and he's excelling.
But every
as
kid,
far as academic-wise.
Every kid, you know, doesn't have an IEP. So then how do we, as, you know, mothers, fathers, you know, and our young black men is smart, you know, they know the right from wrong. Like, it's like, what's going to change in the world that can help us protect our sons? Because I feel like no matter what, I feel like the IEP, nothing, it doesn't matter. If the system gets a hold to our young black men, it's a wrap. Because if you think about it, how many slip through the cracks? You know what I mean? You have to be extraordinary. You have to be a amazing athlete going to go play to the NBA number one.
That doesn't even matter.
But what I'm saying is, who they let slip through the cracks. If you're average and you're troubled young black man, and you're just average, you don't have nothing, they're not letting you slip through the cracks. So how do we get them to help us all, just not the extraordinary ones?
Well, I think it starts at home. We have to talk to our children. We have to tell them certain things not to do. You know, don't run from the police. If you get pulled over, don't reach in your pocket. Don't. And it's unfortunate, but that's what we have to do to protect them. If you have a child and you a single parent and he don't have his dad in his life, our young black sons are looking for role models. Not from their mom. At a certain age, we can't do no more. Like,
but
for
I
me,
feel like that. Look at him, George Floyd. He didn't do nothing, and they still killed him. That's what I mean. It's just like, I feel like what? I feel lost. I feel like lost. I feel like this talks. Like, yeah, but I feel like even if my son was perfect Paul,
it could still happen
to him.
Absolutely. But you have to at least try to talk to them and lessen that chance for them by the people they hang around, the areas that they kicking it in, and you know, some people can't help where they being raised.
Right.
Another thing, you know what? And it's sad because money makes a difference. I feel bad for our young black men that end up going to jail and the mom don't have a house to put up for their bail. Their mom don't have no money to bail them out or get them an attorney. You know, because all that makes a difference. You know, and I tell my son all the time, son, make right decisions. But I also, in raising a black son, I've learned that I have to position myself financially. And it's unfortunate because I think about stuff like that. If something happens to my son, I want to make sure I have money to bail him out. I want to make sure I own assets. I want to make sure I can come in there presentable and I'm well spoken and I, you know, all, and it is sad, but all that makes a difference, you know. And I'm gonna tell you, I know a case where I believe it was 3 or 4 of them, they all went to jail. Only one of them, their mom did all these fundraisers and raised money and got him an attorney. And out of all them boys, guess which one is the only one that's really out right now? He sat in there for 5 years.
But he out.
But he out. And like you said, one thing about the law is you're not innocent to proven guilty. No. You're guilty to proven innocent.
Absolutely.
That term only applies to white America. They're only innocent to they're guilty. We are guilty until proven innocent. So, like I said, nothing's gonna really change unless we come united.
Yeah.
Unless we protest differently.
Right, because looting Target ain't it. What?
No, it's not even. No. It's not even looting Target. Why are you looting in your own neighborhood? You want to go loot Target? Loot Target and make shit where they gotta wake up and they don't have a Target.
Right.
I bet you'll see the difference then. You want to protest and set shit on fire? Don't do it in your neighborhood, in your community, because they want you to live like that. You think they're gonna go back and rebuild? No. But if you go burn their shit down, they're going to get the message, and they're going to rebuild where they live. When it starts affecting where they wake up, where their children go to school, you want to go protest? Have 1,000 people standing in front of them white kids' school. Oh, you'll start seeing the difference when it affects them. When it's affecting our community, they don't care. They don't hear us. And that's how I feel. We've been doing this for years. Put a spin on that shit. Go to their stuff.
And every little bit counts. Like, you know, everybody doesn't have a platform to you know, protest to that capacity, or the means, or, you know, but if we can just start with us, start in your household, start with your neighbor. You know what I mean? Like, stop with the self-hate toward, you know what I mean? Is where it be, like, do your part, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Absolutely.
If you do your part, you know, that's going to spread. You know, it's contagious.
Even like T.I. said today, on July, I believe, 7th
Don't spend a dollar.
Don't spend a dollar.
I mean,
All minorities.
double check that.
Yeah, double check it. Because it makes a difference. Our dollar counts. Minority spends the most money. Did you pull it up?
Blackout Day, July 7th, 2020. This is to call to action. We need one day of solidarity in America when not one black person in America spent $1. This includes Africans, Native Americans, Asian Americans, Hispanics, all people of color. Together we have $3.9 trillion in economic spending power. So that's 10 trillion, however much money it is, it's going to cost per day next time a person of color gets shot. We will call it Blackout Day 2020, July 7th, 2020. Please spread the message and let's show real action that they fear. Blackout Day 2020, and that is so real. When it starts affecting their pockets, I bet you they're gonna do something then.
Well, when it affects their pocket, when it affects where they live, where it affects where their kids go to school, where it affects where they shop, you'll start seeing the difference. We've been doing the same thing for years. So something's got to give and something's got to change.
Yeah, we definitely have to change. We have to change how we think, how we act. And I haven't always acted accordingly, but you know, that's when the self-reflection comes in. That, like, you have to change how you think, how you act, how you are to other people, towards other people, how you spend your money. how, you know, where you choose to buy from, like that's important. Like, you know, like the Asian culture, like if you go down to Chinatown, they all, you know, they all right there, and they all are giving each other money, you know, from the 99-cent stores to the real estate to whatever. They ain't got their own banks. It's like, why we don't have that? You know, why, just like they got a little Chinatown, why we don't got a little Africa town? No, I mean,
because it's the mindset. We're so against each other. A lot of Asians, they'll all live together and make that sacrifice to one family member to buy a house at a time. We don't make those sacrifices, you know, because we're still stuck in slavery mentality. And that has got to change. It got to change, you know, because the worst thing for me in raising a black son in America is all the odds are against him. Even at home with his mom, because you know what I'm going through. I'm like, you know what? I'm giving up. You know, but the reality of it is, if I give up on my son, then it's really bad.
Well, I don't think you're giving up on him. You're just trying to find better ways to help him. You're not giving up.
No, giving up is not an option.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, if I ever was to reach that limit, which I know I won't because I stay prayed up.
Yeah.
But then it'll be all bad for him because all the odds are against us.
But we can't enable. We can't enable our sons though either. You know, I'm to the point where it's like
tough love.
Tough love. I'll never leave my son ever. But what I won't do is enable him. So this is what I've told my child. Juvenile hall time is done. I wrote it out with you, you know, whatever. But I feel like you should have, my jail time is up. So if you go to jail as an adult, this is what you must like. You know what I'm saying? And as an adult, I will not bail you out of jail because I'm not going to enable that behavior. Because as a juvenile, you know, I went through all of that. You know, I could see if he was like not in trouble as a youth, and then,
right.
you know, then obviously. But I feel like
you have already set the tone.
My brother and my mother, he's been going to jail since he was 13 years old, and he's well in his 30s. And every time he goes to jail, if she's able to bail him out, she do. But if she can't bail him out, she's visiting, she's driving, she's this, books, money, whatever, phone calls, however, whatever. To me, that's enabling him, and that's why he has continued to go back to jail, because he was got his mama. So I'm not saying I will leave my son for the dead in jail, but what I'm not gonna do is come bail you out unless it was a situation to where it was his rights and he was protected, something to that effect. But if it was like something criminal, and I can't enable you. I'm gonna love you. I'm gonna always be there for you, son, but I'm not gonna enable you. We as mothers, as parents, hold our black sons down is because we babysit them, we hold their hand, we enable them. We continue.
Some of us mothers are raising a lot of Jonas.
Right. And I ain't got time. Because what I'm not gonna do is have a bum living on my couch who I instilled morals in, who a child who has watched me work and take care of him on my own. What I'm not gonna do is let him slap me in the face and disrespect me by being a Jody or continuing to go to jail. And like you're not doing your sons a favor by going and rescuing them every time they get in trouble. You're doing them a disfavor because they're becoming, dependents. You're not teaching them how to be a man. You know what I mean? A real man is not going to continue to burden his mother.
Right, but also, like I said, when you're a single parent raising a young black man, it's important that you find resources out there. It's important that you keep them busy because we can't raise no man. It takes another man to raise a man. So if you don't have that father in the home, you have to find a mentorship program, a Big Brothers program, or reach out to a family member that can take on that role to help you with your son. But boys need another male role model. I think that is very important.
And what's sad is that they want their fathers.
No, they do.
So black men, if you're having babies, be a father.
Especially if you didn't have your father, because you know what it felt like. So if you didn't have your father, and you're just out here being a piece of shit ass dad, that's fucked up. Because you know how it felt. Why would you want to continue that cycle? Especially if you're out here perfectly healthy. If you're perfectly healthy, take care of your son. Be in your son's life. Don't put him through what you went through. That's selfish. Break the cycle.
And everybody, we just gotta do our part. We gotta do our parts as individuals. We gotta come together. We have to stop being so catty and jealous and stop, fighting. It makes it harder in times like this with Ahmaud Arbery and George Floyd. It makes it harder on us when we're not already united. If we were already united, they couldn't do us like this. You know what I'm saying? We wouldn't have to go burn up the precinct or loot or make such a big, we wouldn't have to stomp so loud because we would have already came together. Let's not only come together in times like this. If we stay together, we'd be unstoppable. They'd be afraid to do stuff like they did to Georgia.
Well, they know that. And like I told you, I know you said, oh no, but for people to stand around and record that and watch that just goes to show how much fear has been pumped into us.
Yeah.
I
just felt like
that is horrible. And I, you know what? I'm just glad that I have not ever been put in a position where I see something like that, because I think my heart is gonna be the death of me. Because I probably would have ran up to the fucking police and tried to push him off of him and probably got shot in the head. So I'm glad that the Lord has been protecting me and not putting me in those type of situations, because I'm just not the type of person that will sit there and record. And I know it's easier said than done, and I haven't been placed in that situation, but I know my heart,
The only reason I think that it was good that I feel like if somebody would have intervened, they would have had an excuse.
But he probably still would have been free.
That's true.
And it's the fear that they pumped in us that allows us to sit there and watch. Why we don't have that fear amongst our own community to not kill each other? That's what bothers me. So we got to do better. We got to do better. So you guys, let us know what you think. If this subject is dear to your heart, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe.
Don't forget to follow us on IG, real_beauty and pain.
Stay prayed up.
It's already written.